Thank you. So yeah, my name is Llambi and I come from Spain. So greetings, probably you notice it from my accent. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you all of guys. I also have a brief introduction of myself and I'm 365 Power Platform Architect and Adoption Specialist. So I design solutions and I bring also the business profiles together with a Power Platform. And I've been this year also awarded as Microsoft Valuable Professional in Business Applications. So that's why for me, Power Platform is a perfect tool to make all of the ideas and to transform all of the ideas in something tangible. Also to mention Sharon, if they want to follow me in social media, they can find me in Twitter and LinkedIn. And also I have a blog where from time to time I post my knowledge and also my thoughts about the Power Platform. Unfortunately, is in Spanish, so probably you will need a translator to get into the content. So if it's okay for you, let's go for just the topic that I'm going to present today to you. So thank you for the organization. Thank you for everything you've been doing during these months. It is so hard to set a virtual conference like this. So it's apparently easy, but it isn't. So thank you for the awesome job you've done during this. Otherwise, we couldn't be here and sharing knowledge with you and bringing everyone together from worldwide. So the topic from today, what I'm going to talk is about governance in Microsoft Teams and Power Platform. Apparently, it is two topics, two elements on the Microsoft Cloud that doesn't have anything in common. So which is the role that Power Platform could play with the governance of Microsoft Teams? Okay, let's take a look. But before to start, let me put some basis on that. Let me introduce the topic of the governance of Microsoft Teams to ensure that all of us start from the first and from the same point. I know that there is a full track you guys you can follow after my session. You can follow the track of governance, and there's a lot of experts talking about how to set up new policies, how to deal with the applications in Microsoft Teams. But let's do quite a summarize what is so important, the governance. Microsoft Teams is getting more and more important in our organizations. It is becoming the main communication and collaboration hub. If it's becoming the main application to communicate and to collaborate, it means that somehow we need to bring some boundaries to set some limits and to set also some game rules from all of our organization. Also, because as you may know, if we don't set any control on Microsoft Teams, you are allowed to do everything. So you can duplicate your documents, you can start collaborating on chats, just move to channels, start copying the files from your OneDrive, hosting in Microsoft Teams, creating a lot of Microsoft Teams channels. So somehow we need to avoid the redundancy in our organization and also to ensure that we don't have duplicated information across our organization. The third point here is because somehow we need to grant the correct access levels and permissions to our users. So we need to ensure that the members of our teams, what are they allowed to do? Are they allowed to host and to upload documents across all of the teams, or perhaps just in one specific folders in our teams? Somehow we need to deal with the permissions and the security. The fourth point here is that Teams is getting more importance, as I say, every day. There are a lot of partners and other companies that they develop their own solutions that could be easy just with one click, added and connected to our Microsoft Teams hub. So if we are bringing and we are connecting applications from third parties, somehow we need to ensure that we don't have, for example, data lakes in our organization. We need somehow to review which applications should our employees or our users allow to install and which not. And last but not least, just imagine an organization with 3,000 users in maybe 3 years on the future. If we don't set the limits on the creation of Microsoft Teams, on the creation of channels, on the perhaps this duplication and redundancy that we could have, and we don't set what will happen to our teams on the future, which is the life cycle, when they should be created, for what they should be used, and when they should be archived, if we don't deal with this life cycle, we will have a large amount of Microsoft Teams, of 365 group at the end, SharePoint sites on behind created. And mostly all of them wouldn't be used at all. So somehow we need to deal with this life cycle. That is so important, and that's why the governance in Teams is so important. But you might think, okay, Mar, and which is the role that Power Platform plays here? You may notice that this governance is not only about configuration, is not only about writing down a document where you say what are your members allowed to do or not. It is also to set some automated processes in some applications. Whoa. Are we talking about develop solutions across our teams, across our full organization? That costs money, and that costs also time. That's why Power Platform plays a perfect role here. How and why the Power Platform can help us to set up a perfect governance from our Microsoft Teams. First of all, as I say, if we need to set some or develop some automatizations, Power Platform is the perfect tool. So we have a no-code, low-code to reduce the efforts, to short the duration of this developing, and why not to prevent to have to purchase other licenses and to pay extra cost. The second point linked to this first one is that probably most of the organizations already have Power Platform included on their licenses, and they didn't know it because Power Platform is also included in already new E3 and E5 licenses. It means the Power Platform for M365 is not the full powerful Power Platform, but it's a really good point to start. So if they already have this power and they are not using it at all, we are maybe losing the benefits that this platform brings to us. The third point, it is because Power Platform and Teams are getting closer and closer. So if you followed the Microsoft Ignite the last month, you will know that this Project Oakdale is the new announcement and big announcement around the Power Platform. So now we can not only set the applications with a really quick and play on our Microsoft Teams, we can develop and we can create our apps, our automatizations, our chatbots into the same Microsoft Teams interface. But not only on the interface, because before the the Power Platform for M365 license include the connection with SharePoint for free. But now connected with Teams, we will also have tables, relationships. So something quite the common data service that we already knew, but maybe I will say not so complex, but ready to use. So the third reason is the key. So Power Platform and Teams is getting closer. Why don't use it to rule the teams? And fourth, the fourth point, I think that is something that perhaps sometimes we forgot about the reality of our organizations. So there are a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, they set up a Microsoft 365 cloud, a tenant, but they don't have an Azure subscription at all. They use Azure as an Active Directory to connect the users and to sync the permissions, but they don't have a subscription where they can set new web apps, new resources, new automatizations, new serverless producers. So they don't have a cloud space where they can store and start creating new applications. So if Power Platform, it is already attached to our M365 subscription, it is getting closer to Microsoft Teams. That's why Power Platform is the key. Before I mention the life cycle of a Microsoft Teams creation, for example, one of the most common and I will say problems that all of the companies face is the Teams provisioning system. So, okay, I have clear that I don't want to allow all of the employees of my organization to be able to be capable to create their own teams, because otherwise this could be a disaster, an uncontrolled environment. But somehow I want to limit the people who are allowed to create these teams and to set up these teams. Perhaps they could be the area managers, the area, the department managers, and even the administrators of Microsoft Teams. Okay, I limit these people, but I also want somehow to deal with the annoying multiple request channels. So I don't want to let them deal with emails, chats in Teams, calls, even now because we are in virtual mode, but if we were in office, the typical visits, presential visits, I don't want to have so many requests in multiple channels. Somehow I want to focus them and to ensure that all of the Teams requests are done on the same platform in the same channel. The third request and the third requirement that most of the organizations have is that somehow they want to track these requests. So it is difficult to do it by email. It is difficult to do it if we focus it, if we centralize it via Microsoft Teams. They want to track it. They want to know who requested, who approved the team, and who finally created the team and why, which was the reason behind from the requester to request these teams. And the fourth requirement, and of course, this is the key here, if we want to set up a solution that meets the three first requirements, I want something with short duration, short deployment duration, or short development duration. I also want low effort, low cost. So I want something tangible in short time. And here is, of course, the Power Platform, the key tool to set up kind of a solution for these requirements. This is just a proposal. This is one of the examples that I'm going to show to you. Of course, this flowchart that you are seeing right now that I'm showing to you could be different depending on the requirements of the company. But this is just an example, and this is a quite quick way to deploy it in a full organization. So we have two apps developed with Power Apps. One app is the Teams Creator app, where every employee of our organization is allowed to create a new Teams request. And the second Power Apps app is a Teams Approval app, where my area managers and team administrators, they are allowed to reject or approve the request, the pending request in my organization. Why we did it with two applications? We could have done it in one. Yeah, that's right. But because we don't want to deal with large permission processes or large dealing with the access levels of the application, what I show to my area managers, what I show it, if they are also employees that they could at the same time request the teams by themselves, we decided to separate it into different applications. When the employee requests a new team via Power Automate, his or her area manager is notified via Microsoft Teams message, hey, one of your employees is requesting a new team, and that's the reason. Once they have the request, they, or even as I say, the team administrators can access to the Teams Approval app, and here they can choose two branches. The first branch, okay, I see the request of my employee, and I decide to reject this request. And I can even let a message if I want. We can transform it and adapt it as we want. So I am sorry. The reason why I have to reject that is because that. Once I reject it via Power Automate again, my requester is notified as with a Teams notification message. I am sorry, but your request has not been approved. The second branch, my area manager or my team administrator, they decide to approve the request. And then, and here is the big improvement, and that's why I really want to focus here, is that Microsoft Power Automate is capable to create by themselves the new team, taking the requirements, the original requirements of the employee. I really want to point that out because before we also did it, this same process, I had it developed using Power Automate as well, but everything was done via HTTP calls to MS Graph. So there was no way to create a team, to set up new members, to create new channels without the endpoints provided by MS Graph. With the new features and improvements of Power Automate, between Power Automate and Teams, we have new actions that we just 4 steps out of the box actions. Just 4 steps, we can create the team, set the members, create the channels, and done. When the team is created, then the requester also receives a notification message, hey, your team is ready to use. Let's take a look how does it work. So let's move to Power Apps, and I'm going to show you the first one, that this is the Team Creator Employee. You will see that these apps are not fancy at all. These are just apps that I show to my customers or to people who are interested how Power Platform can help in the governance. They're not fancy at all, but of course, once I deploy it in an organization, we set the brand, we change the process, and so on. So here you will see the application from the employee. This is where my employee can request the new teams. You guys may see that this is in Spanish, so obviously I usually work in Spanish, but I'm going to translate everything to you. So this is quite simple. I have some requests already done. Some of them are still pending. Some of them have been approved. Some of them have been rejected. And here I have all of them. So once I enter to one of them, I can see which were the members, which were the channels, and so on. So if it's okay for you, let's create one to test this process. For example, name of the team. Let's put it Teams Fest, right? Yes, Teams Fest group, for example, yeah. Members, which members I want to be in this team. Of course, once the team is created, I also can decide if the requester is the team owner or he is or she is just another team member. So that's why it is important also to decide when the members will be defined, if on the very beginning on the request or just when the team is already set up and they decide which members he or she wants to add. So members, you will see that in my organization, I have really fancy members. I have Batman, I have Aquaman. They are the best teammates, I have to say it. So I add the members, and then I also can decide which kind of team it is, if it is private or if it is public. Let's put it private. And then I can add the channels of the team. By default, something that the user can change is that there is already a general channel. They have to accept that the general channel will be there and we can't change it. So that's why it is already here and I can't change it or delete it. So I can even put another channel, and adding new channels. And here is asking me which is the reason why I want to set up a new team. And here I specify the reason. For example, we need some kind of a space to work, or this is a new project in the organization and we need a collaboration and communication space, wherever it takes to the requester to request a new team. And at the end here there is a terms of acceptance that probably the organization, before to let create the requester teams, they want to, for example, inform such the general terms of use. If you request the teams, this must be approved by your area manager. If you request the teams, you have to be sure that you really need that team. So it is necessary to work with that team. Any kind of terms of use. When I check it, here you see that my submit button is visible, and then I can create it. When I click accept, there is a pop-up message which informs to me that once I create the request, this can't be undone. I can modify the request once this is still on pending status, but once it is created, so approved or rejected, this won't be allowed to edit it at all. But even if it is pending, I can't delete the request. So this is a disclaimer message. So once you request a new team, this can't be undone because all the process starts. That means that this is a limitation. This was just the flow that this company where I use, the company I used to set up this mockup, they specified, but of course this could be dealt and this could be developed as they want. So when I click accept, the request is already created. So I have here my Teams Fest and it is pending. Where once I'm here, I see I can edit my pending request, but for example, if I go to an approve request, I can edit because the request was already approved or reject. I can edit. Okay, so the request was sent, and now my area manager has received a Teams message. Hey, one of your organization or one of your team employees has requested a new message. Because I'm not my own area manager, but I am a Teams administrator, I also have access to a second application. This is the Teams Creator Approval application. Here I have two different points of entrance. If I am a responsible of a team, I also see this option. So I can approve or reject the request of my own team, but I'm not the manager of myself. And if I am an administrator, a Teams administrator, I can also enter as an administrator and review all of the requests, the pending requests on my organization. I have hidden a lot of sections in this application because there was a lot of stuff. I could even change the flow chart. I could even specify reasons to set a different level hierarchy approval. So I keep it as simple as possible for this presentation. So you will see that this is just one screen application. Here I see two pending requests. One is Party Team, yeah, great name. And the second one is the Teams Fest. Here I see the date when this team was requested, who requested, which are the members that he or she wants to add to the team, the necessary channels, and even the reason. Here I have one icon. If it is private or if it's public, the icon is different. So what I can do here is to reject or to approve the team's creation. Let's approve it. Once it is approved, it is getting so fast. And I really want to point out this quick application because before with Microsoft Graph, it was really slow how everything was set up. We had to set up the O365 group. We had to wait up to 5 minutes to have the O365 group set up and then convert it to a Microsoft Teams and then include the members and then create the channels. Here what is waiting, I hope that everything worked fine. Yeah, here what is waiting is to create the channels, to create the members and everything. If something wrong happens, Power Automate let us know and then I will pop up a message like, hey, the team couldn't be created because, yeah, already exists, the name already exists, or there is a wrong member name, or one of the channels has a wrong name, whatever. So any problem that Microsoft could found using the creation. So as a requester, I receive a message, two messages. One, when the team was approved. So, hey, your request was approved, great. So the system will let you know when this team is ready to use. And just few seconds after, I receive a second notification. Hey, the creation of your teams was successfully finished. So if I move to Teams, I will see here the Teams Fest. I will see here the Teams Fest with the two channels and so on. Let's take a look to the Power Automate flow because this is the magic on behind and I want to specify and to clarify quite the process. So if I refresh that, I see here 1 minute run. Let's take a look to this request. First of all, I have an HTTP request. Why? Because all of the process, I have it divided in two different flows. So once I process the request, so once I decide if this must be approved or must be rejected, I have one flow connected to the Power App. This is my flow. So Power Apps communicate with Power Automate. Hey, this request must be approved or must be rejected. Here I take some variables like the ID of the request, the value if it is approved or rejected, and who is the approver. That's important. Who is the approver? Because everything is tracked into a SharePoint list. So everything, all of the requests and everything is tracked here in my SharePoint list. So when I define, here I have my team fest, when I define a new request, I'm not only saving who created the request, but who also approved it, which was the area that was related, so to which area I belong, and which is the status, the final status of the approval. So everything is tracked. I get the request, and then what I do is, depending of the reject or the approve, it is approved, I send to the requester a really fancy adaptive card that you saw here. And if not, I also send an adaptive card, but of course the message is a quite negative message. I am sorry, your approval was rejected. Once I finish, I respond to Power Apps and I say, okay, that's all. So we have already approved or we have already rejected your request. But one point here is that if I approve the request, there is an HTTP call to another to another flow run. So here I have to point out two things. The first one, this wasn't necessary if the solution was already built in a solution. If you know, we can attach or we can run multiple flows as a child flows. So I can call another flow from one of my flows and have all of these branches. But that only works in a solution context. And the second point here, I couldn't build it as a solution because solutions doesn't accept SharePoint connections. So if I want to stay in the full Microsoft 365 license, I have here an HTTP call, something that I still can deal because it is a premium action, but I could also perform all of the creation here. I did it in two different flows because it was more clear, but if I can implemented in two flow runs because I don't have the premium HTTP call, then I can do it everything on the same one. That's not a big deal. And then if I go back to the HTTP call, here I have everything done using Microsoft. That's awesome. Using out of the box Teams actions. Is everything possible with Teams actions? No. Let's take a look. So what I do here is I get the request to create a new team because the request was approved. Then I get the item, I receive the ID, I get the approval because I need to know which is the team name, which are the channels, which are the members that I have to add, and so on. I will describe everything. I will explain about the secret key and why I'm using MS Graph afterwards. The first thing I do is to try to create the team. Why I post it into a try catch? Because maybe I approved a team, but I had no idea that there was already another team on my organization that had the same name. And I can create two teams with the same name. So that could fail. And if it fails, what I do is I catch the error, I stop the process, and I inform to the responsible who approved the request, hey, this team wasn't, I was unable to create this team because this reason. If I can create the team, then the second thing I do is to check if the creator is different to the approver. That's important because this is something that I can deal with out of the box. I have yes or yes to go via Microsoft Graph. Here, you will see if I come back to my teams, that once I created the teams, I'm automatically me, and I will explain why me. I'm automatically the team owner. So who created the team using the credentials on Power Automate? So here on that action, there are my credentials. This will be always my team owner. And that's not what I want. What I want is to swap the creators. And in case that the approver, so the person who created the team, is not the same person who requests the teams, then what I do is to try to swap the owner. And that's something that I can do out of the box. I have to go via Microsoft Graph, and then to get the user, to get the team owner, to do the swap, and that's all. That's something that yes or yes, there is no option. I have to go with Microsoft Graph. Okay, that could be a case. And once I swap the team owner in case of need, then I go to create the channel. But of course, the channel general is always there. This is something that I am always keeping because I mean, the user must know that when they request a team, they will always a general channel. But if the channel is not, this is what I'm doing here, if the channel is not the general one, then I create it. And that's why I created, there was one of two, and then the second one that I created, that this is the channel one. Okay, once I have created the channels, then I can add the members. So I have the requester where I have the request, where I have my team members, and I add my team members. And again, I have out of the box action, Power Automate teams. That's awesome. If you see here my flow, all of the flow chart could seem quite complicated, but it was even worse before. I had a lot of try catch with a lot of dealings with HTTP calls to MS Graph. It was a nightmare. So everything was simplified with the new features. And once I created the members, once I added the members, then I post a message to the requester, okay, everything worked perfect. And I finish always with a response to the previous flow run. So you remember we called this flow from a previous approval flow. So I respond that everything was okay. If not here, I post a message with the error, and then I respond there was an error creating the team. Okay, and this is the process. What else could I do with this process? So this is just an example, but on this team creator application, on this new request, I could add, for example, for each channel, and that's something that I also did for a customer. They also wanted to specify multiple tabs. So automatically create new tabs with an URL, with a OneNote. So I go to the SharePoint site, I take the OneNote ID, I post it as a tab. So that's something that we can also do. So establish or pre-establish our team as customized as we want. But something important to know, via MS Graph, we are still not allowed to create planner. So plans in planner. It means that if we want to link a planner in a tab in our new team request, we will have to set already existing team planner. That's something quite annoying. I hope that we will deal with that on the future, but for now, we even can do it with MS Graph. That's the solution. And as you see, that's quite easy. So once you see it, it's quite easy to implement, easy to understand, easy to modify, easy, easy, easy. I love it. 3 easies. So other examples that we could have and we could develop using the Power Platform to support the governance of Microsoft Teams. This was just the team provisioning process, but we can also have an archiving process. We can also have adoption Power BI dashboard to see what is happening among all of our organizations, across all of the teams of our organizations. And this is my first example. And this is one thing we are also doing for many customers. So they let them know what is happening on Microsoft Teams. We let them know what is happening in Outlook, in SharePoint, thanks to Microsoft Graph, so the API. And we connected everything into a Power BI dashboard so they can control and they can govern exactly in real time what is happening on their organization. The second example to connect Power Platform to deal with the governance is to set other approval processes. For example, with Microsoft List, with Power Automate. For example, if you want to create a new folder in one team, maybe you are not allowed because you are just a visitor and not a contributor, but you need that library to store new documents. So everything that is related with approval processes within the Microsoft Teams, that could be also developed using Power Platform. The third example, message management and chat reporting. I love that because this is also a new feature of Power Automate. So we are allowed to manually run a Power Automate flow from a message in Microsoft Teams. So I have a message, I can just click on the 3 dots and run one of the flow attached to that channel. So that is really useful for chat reporting, for message management. For example, yeah, this message I reported to my admin because it shouldn't be here or is inappropriate at all. And another example, for example, is custom Teams management app with PowerShell admin module. This is quite more advanced, but I could also have all of my Teams dashboard. So the dashboard, the administrator dashboard that I have on the admin portal that I have on my browser, I can also develop my own application in Power Apps, which is connected on the background with Asia functions. And then to deal with the new permission policies and the new application approvals and permissions, just using a Power App and one simple predefined actions in my Power App connected to an Azure module, which is using PowerShell to administrate. So yeah, I can customize and I can even create my own admin center. That's really nice. Okay, so that was all about governance and Microsoft Power Platform. So Sharon, I don't know if there are any questions. I will be glad to answer them, or even if there was questions about the process or the solution.
We haven't got any questions in the chat yet, but I think everybody is still digesting what you've put across there. So if anybody has any questions specifically around this solution or the technology or how you might implement that for yourselves, please do add them to the chat or pop your hands in the air and we'll take you off mute so that you can join the conversation. Loving the new girl icon there. Very good.
So just one thing, this solution, I don't have this solution public or hosted anywhere. So if you also interested on the solution itself, you want to implement it in your organization just to play around and to see how is this working, you can also text me and I can send you all the solution packed, ready to use and to deploy, and just to let you play around with that.
Still nothing coming up in the chat. I think you've
okay. That's good. That's good.
You've answered every possible question. And with that in mind, thank you, Tim. With that in mind, let's just post in the hyperlink to give some feedback on the session. So if you could, we have interest in the solution. Great, we've got it on screen too. So if we could get some feedback on this session, what did you like? What would you like Mar to improve? Or, you know, what do you want to see next time? Do you want to be more in depth? Do you want to be less technical? How would you like to see the session improved? And that gives us some great feedback for both the creators of the Teams Fest day as well as for the individuals giving their sessions. So it's really important to us that we get some feedback. Please do let us know what you thought. I'll be filling it in and saying how great this session was, Mara. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, somebody else up for the solution. So Mar, I assume you're going to grab these contacts and let them know, or have you got an email address you want to put out there in the chat for us that people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I can post it on the chat right now because, yeah, so let me move. You can reach me whenever you need. So also to know more about the solution, or to also to be capable if you want to implement it by yourself. I can also help you and support you. So everything that you might have, I will be glad to help you. And also, Sharon, I want also to thank for the attendance and the attention that they had. I don't know if it is a good point to don't receive any question, but at least I have the feeling that the attendance was really pending of what I was doing and explaining. So that's great.
I wouldn't worry. For my session at the start of the day, I didn't get any feedback either. Any questions? Lots of feedback, lots of thanks. But don't worry, don't have any questions. It just means that you explained your topic perfectly. There you go. The presentation was so good. There are no questions to ask. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
So talked us through it beautifully, and thank you so much for being here. If you want to hang out for another 10 minutes or so, just in case some questions come up, we'd really appreciate that. And we'll be looking to get the next session up and running, which will be with Tony around best practices for Power Apps governance. So now we've done Teams governance, let's look at how we govern Power Apps too, which should be another great session. So we've got that coming up, but for now we're going to have a short break. So many thank yous, it's very nice. So if you've got any questions or you want to have a chat with Mar, do put your hand up. Or do get in touch with her directly. She's going to hang around, for a little while, I hope.
Thank you, Sharon. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.